This week is very important for the Federal Reserve. All eyes are on Jerome Powell, who will deliver a keynote address at the annual Jackson Hole event on Friday in Wyoming. And his speech at this annual event is always very closely watched by the entire world. But this year, the pressure on the Fed chair is more intense than ever before. He faces not only market uncertainty and economic ambiguity, as we know very well, but also he is facing fierce political and internal challenges. Donald Trump has spent months attacking Powell for refusing to lower interest rates. Trump has used increasingly aggressive language, branding Powell, and I quote here, a stubborn mule and many other things, and accusing him of damaging the economy by not reacting to global trade tensions created by tariffs. And right now, Trump has the opportunity of a lifetime to directly influence the Federal Reserve's future direction. Following the sudden departure of Fed Governor Adriana Kugler, Trump has nominated Stephen Miran, who is a loyalist and who supports aggressive rate cuts, to fill her seat on the board. Miran's views align very closely with Trump's, by the way. He has backed significant interest rate reductions, and he even argued that there should be reforms in place that would give presidents the authority to dismiss Fed chairs at will. His nomination introduces a new dynamic into the Federal Open Market Committee, a body that traditionally focuses on institutional independence and long-term thinking over short-term political gains. This nomination could be just the beginning, however. In July, two existing Fed governors, Christopher Waller and Michelle Baumann, who have been quite outspoken about their take on the Fed's necessary direction, they have already broke with Powell, advocating for rate cuts despite the chair's more cautious stance. So if Miran is confirmed in time for the September meeting, Powell could be facing 3 dissenters on a 7-member board. So quite a challenging situation. That level of division within the Fed hasn't been seen in 40 years, since 1988, and it would serve as a clear signal that Powell is losing his influence as political pressure on him increases, quite systematically too. Meanwhile, economic indicators are giving mixed signals, and that is something that is another sort of red flag, and something that on Friday Powell should address. Official inflation, and I say official because we see price increases across the board everywhere, but official numbers show inflation is cooling. So this has actually led investors to believe that a rate cut in September is indeed likely. However, insiders at the Fed are less certain that the Federal Reserve will deliver a rate cut. Some believe the central bank may still hold off as it tries to determine whether the recent slowdown in job growth is a sign of deeper trouble or just a reflection of supply-side shift in the labor force. There are reasons to believe that labor slowdown may not be entirely economic, by the way. Immigration flows, which significantly affect the size of the U.S. workforce, have become harder to track in real time. If fewer immigrants are entering the job market, whether due to policy restrictions, due to fear of deportation, or any other factor, it could result in lower hiring numbers too. At the same time, a large portion of the baby boomer generation is retiring as we speak, and this, of course, reduces U.S. labor force even further. So, as you see, all of those factors, along with economic factors, appear to be at play here. So, it is a very challenging situation here. But nevertheless, the softening labor market is a real fact, and this incredible amount of political pressure from the White House clearly creates a conundrum for the Fed. If the slowdown in hiring is driven by shrinking supply, there is less need to cut interest rates. But if it reflects weakening employer demand, rate cuts may be necessary to stimulate the economy. So the Fed will have to decide and will have to reflect on their path forward this Friday. If we look at the numbers, we will notice that from May through July, the U.S. economy added an average of just 35,000 jobs per month, a figure that would usually be seen as a warning sign, yet the unemployment rate has remained quite low at around 4.2%. This suggests that the slowdown in the labor market may not be a crisis, but possibly a result of demographic and policy shifts that have very little to do with Fed's decisions. That is a possibility. There just isn't enough conclusive data at this point in time. However, all of this puts even more weight on Powell's upcoming remarks at Jackson Hole. Markets are eagerly watching for any signal that the Fed is prepared to cut rates, or alternatively, that it intends to stay the course and to keep policy quite tight. Even a small shift in tone will have an effect on global markets. By the way, the symposium's official theme this year is labor markets in transition, demographics, productivity, and macroeconomic policy. That makes it an ideal platform for Jerome Powell to address the complexities that the Fed is now facing, from aging population to restricted immigration. The labor market is changing in so many different ways, and the Fed's choice is just one of many drivers. As for Stephen Miran, I would like to return to that. So as for Stephen Miran, Financial Times says he won't be attending the symposium himself, but his colleagues from the Council of Economic Advisors will be there. And Miran, who is probably best known for past writings that advocate for dollar devaluation and global economic restructuring, he represents a very disruptive force within the Federal Reserve. While some believe that he will be a much-needed change of pace, others actually see him as an agent of ideological change, someone who could push the Fed toward more politicized decision-making. And I tend to believe that the latter is more accurate, and that, of course, would also explain the fact that he was selected by Donald Trump for this position. Whether Powell acknowledges these tensions directly or not, his speech will be interpreted in light of these factors that I just walked you through. He is navigating a very divided board, a volatile economic landscape, and unprecedented political pressure. The decisions that he makes and the words that he chooses on Friday could shape the future of the U.S. monetary policy for years to come. So this is definitely something to watch, and this is something to really keep in mind as Friday approaches and Powell is preparing his speech. This is a truly pivotal moment in the battle over economic strategy, political influence, and the independence of America's most powerful financial institution. Do you expect a rate cut, or do you believe the Federal Reserve will hold steady? Let us know in the comments. I would love to hear from you as always. Thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful and interesting, hit like, subscribe, and follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care.